Bushy-tailed and bright-eyed, I, like most people, was excited to enjoy the new map that dropped in Season 3. Although the only difference between most people and myself is that I'm a closeted psychopath. Quite literally, I'm sitting in my closet. Psychopathy aside, I also wanted to scour the map for any Easter eggs and secrets that may have gone overlooked to the untrained eye. Today, I wish to discuss the one blaring hint nestled into the Antarctic Peninsula map, which spells out the existence of a possible new hero that may or may not make an entrance sooner than you think. A map which expands upon the site of Echo Point, Antarctica, Peninsula specifically highlights the research that was conducted at this site. If you're relatively new to Overwatch, this site holds importance to the playable hero Mei, as the scenery shown in the animated short Rise and Shine can be found throughout this map and the other. If you wish to watch the short before coming back to this video so you can experience it for yourself, the link should be right here. I'll be waiting here, so no worries. You ready? Cool. So, after witnessing that heart-wrenching experience, it is important to note that this short was released in just year 2 of Overwatch 1 in 2017. And before that, in year 1 of release, they added the Echo Point Antarctica deathmatch map, which set the foundation for the story in the short for the purpose of further massacring people on a gravesite? Nice. So why is this story being brought back? What relevance does the site have to pushing the Overwatch story forward, to expanding the world of these heroes? Well, although this map is filled with references to new locations and such, there is one hidden item that leads me to believe that there will be a new character tied to this very map, and it will be revealed in the coming season. Before I let the cat out of the bag and show you the part of this map that spells out the possible kit and concept of this hero, let's make a wager. If my ramblings of a madman impress you in one way or another, please consider hitting that like button and subscribe to stay up to date for more Overwatch content. The single item that piqued my science-loving brain was this image, a building number, seemingly labeling it Building S4, a rather simple and yet peculiar labeling of a the facility. This is because all other buildings on this modular map, as well as its deathmatch counterpart, are labeled with this numbering system, segmenting the modular buildings into relevant sections. Not only is it weird that they chose to label the section S4, but the label itself seems to display some sort of diagram with small, undiscernible writing. So this leaves us with the question, what could building S4 be? Seals? Seawater? Celine Dion? Maybe.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
But to describe what I believe this diagram represents, I must first use 4 S's of my own. Stellar, solar, spallation, and sulfur. Let's start with the last of these, sulfur. If you're like me, you're all too familiar with the ball and stick modeling of molecules in chemistry class and made the leap of judgment to identify this diagram as such. So is this some sort of sulfur-related research facility? Is this the sulfur room? Well, no. I'm just kind of using the word sulfur to represent this assumption that this is a molecular diagram, since we have multiple labels for these connected atoms that have different atomic lettering. But if that's the case, one issue immediately comes to mind. Can you see it? Here, I'll give you a second. What the f*** is CH? There's some sort of new element I'm not aware of? You see, Cl is chlorine. Cr is chromium. So, what is CH?
This is blasphemy. This is madness.
It's like Blizzard's laughing in the face of science. Just absolutely default dancing on the periodic table. It's all jokes, but maybe Blizzard really is actually just doing something like that, dropping their own flavor text of some new element in the world of Overwatch displayed on a molecular diagram. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt here. Instead of CH and IR, what if these are CL and I? I suspect the isotopes represented here are I-129 and Cl-36. I'll expound as to why in a second, but basically speaking, both of these isotopes are primarily generated through our next S, spallation. More specifically, cosmogenic spallation, which is spallation occurring between atmospheric particles and cosmic rays. Now, I just threw a bunch of science terms at you, and you might be stressing out a little bit, so let's clarify a few things before moving on. Cosmic rays are a variable shower of particles that erupt from our third S, solar flares, found in the sun's upper atmosphere, which then travel across the depths of space and basically crash into atoms of our atmosphere. The particles in these solar winds consist primarily of protons and alpha particles, a radiation particle that looks like a helium atom without its electrons. Alright, enough of that bit. Basically, when any of those particles clash with the atoms of our atmosphere, many things can happen. For example, remember those isotopes we spoke about earlier? Well, when the trace amounts of xenon in our atmosphere collides with the muons in the cosmic rays, muons are like electrons, but heavier. Cosmic ray spallation relents iodine-129. I-129 is also biophilic, which means it easily finds its way into vegetation, milk, soil, and animal tissue. We'll cover the importance of that in a moment, but there's one other isotope that I-129 is comparable with in terms of its chemical properties and tendencies. Chlorine-36, which, instead of being produced with the collision of xenon from the atmosphere and muons in the cosmic rays, it is produced with the collision of argon from the atmosphere and protons from the cosmic rays. Now, there are a fair amount of uses for chlorine-36, but the most contextually important use for it is the application in geological and seawater dating, meaning it can be used to tell how old a specific sample is, kind of like how carbon dating does that for biological organisms. This could very well mean it could help in dating the samples from the sublevels. The reason for doing this? I don't necessarily know, perhaps telling when this abnormal behavior started? Either way, for specimen analysis like this, it is extremely possible it would require the aid of chlorine-36. Now, you might still think of cosmic rays as some invisible force that could not possibly be visualized in a video game. I mean, we're talking about subatomic and atomic particles here, right? Also, I still have failed to mention why cosmic rays are specific to the South Pole. I mean, the sun's rays reach all of Earth, not just the South Pole. What if I told you, in the South Pole, among all the snow and ice and frostbite and death and emptiness, that there are cosmic rays interacting with the magnetic field to produce something magnificent? That's right. The aurora is the result of cosmic rays. They interfere with the magnetic field found at the South Pole to produce a light show which cascades itself across the night sky. That brings us to our last S, stellar, the term appropriately describing this chromatic masterpiece, as well as the positioning of its majesty overhead. However, out of all of the research conducted here, how am I so sure that they are looking up at the sky, especially when there's so much work down below? Well, let me present to you the real-world equivalent to the scientific facility I am proposing. The IceCube Neutrino Laboratory, stationed at, you guessed it, the South Pole. The IceCube is equipped with technology necessary to study cosmic rays and register that information in machines that look awfully familiar. And the cherry on top? The facility shown here requires deep drilling to both stabilize and house the facilities necessary for capturing the data. Now, if you're done picking your jaw up off the floor, which, gross. Let me take a step back and refute my own theory here. It is undeniable that the major research conducted here, and probably the majority of the reason for the expedition's funding in the first place, was to solve the terrestrial anomalies occurring at this location and others worldwide. However, this is where my theory is strengthened, and actually even sold. You see, there's a diversity of projects that's being conducted, including ones which are not necessarily related one bit to the activities of anomaly research. The existence of cryonics research at this facility alone actually proves my point, that it is not a far stretch of the imagination that there was further research unrelated to the anomalies conducted in the South Pole. Research that could involve iodine-129 produced through cosmic ray spallation and the feasibility of its collection and application to plant life. Or perhaps, the research is important to the anomalies, and it's simply just not disclosed by a certain department, like studying chlorine-36 produced through cosmic ray spallation and the feasibility it has in being collected and applied to diagnosing anomaly ice samples. What I'm trying to prove here is that the nature of this expedition's research is not unified around one purpose. It's multifaceted, with linkages between the areas of research, and this is what is more likely than not when we have facilities devoted to plant life and embryo stasis when others are trying to figure out why the sky or Earth have abnormal occurrences. In fact, this research practice of having multiple studies occur at uninhabitable sites is not uncommon. With increased risks and cost to maintain the opposition to unideal conditions, operating multiple studies strictly becomes advantageous. And although I suspect this building to provide some of these linkages in areas of research, it's not the only facility capable of doing this. Like, maybe it's possible that the plants in this compound are used to make glycerin, which could be used as a cryopreservative in the cryonic study. Side note, you at home can actually make the super mega cool version of this called nitroglycerin. To do so, just look up how to make nitroglycerin with household products. It's really cool. I promise you won't end up on any FBI watch lists. In the display of May's team, we meet 5 other individuals who accompany May. 1 other climatologist, 2 cryonics specialists, an engineer, and an individual on the team simply labeled researcher. No specialty added, just researcher. It is my belief that this researcher is actually working in this secret department on research covering the very scientific topics I'm covering right now. And even if that's not the case, well, there's another climatologist that is probably not studying the ice samples, as the plant-based facilities are found within the Department of Climatology. And the plant life specialist's role shares an area of interest with our cosmic researcher here. You see, I wasn't exactly 100% truthful when I was telling you where cosmic ray spallation takes place. The other place that cosmic ray spallation affects is the Earth's soil. So the very thing that we're studying in the sky could also be found in the very soil lining these plants. Up until now, I've proposed a possibility for this building's purpose, as well as why the possibility is more and more likely.
Good Lord, what is happening in there?
Aurora Borealis?
Aurora Borealis. At this time of year, at this time of day, in this part of the country, localized entirely within your kitchen.
Yes.
May I see it?
No.
So what if this building is related to this area of research? This doesn't prove that there's a new hero coming to the game related to this building. And it doesn't prove that this concerns the game in the near future. Well, for one of these answers, we have to move just a few feet to the other side of this building to see a different graphic left to us by the devs. This. A unique symbol that has never before been seen in Overwatch. Not in Gibraltar, Echo Point Deathmatch map, or even Horizon Lunar Colony, which I give as examples because there's other symbology used across these maps, which gives us a standard of the labeling of these specific parts. Besides being new, why is this symbol of importance to the game? Well, for that, we needn't look any further than this building exactly mirrored on the other side of the map. Now, this symbol may look familiar. You see, this is May's ultimate symbol, as she used her cryonicist colleague's research to figure out the method of creating the mixture used in her weapon. So, if this emblem is on the other side of the map, does it mean it's set in stone that this is the ultimate symbol of some other character? Well, I mean, the design language alone hints to this. This symbol fills up the region which would be contained in an ultimate symbol. It has shapes and motion lines which could describe a dynamic action originating from the center, or possibly just a company's emblem, which brings a new faction for our hero to come from. Even if this is the case, you claim the hero is coming to the game soon. How are you so sure? Well, you impatient, naive viewer.
Don't get cocky!
Well, up until now, I've used my own 4 S's to guide my theory, to explain to you what I believe the purpose of this building to be. But what about what S4 stands for? What if S doesn't stand for any of these, but instead it means season, as in season 4? Season 4 that is bringing the all-new support to the game, which just may have a kid harnessing the very auroras in the sky. A hero who may or may not be this secret researcher, or even just a benefactor of the research related to this building.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
Research which studies the cosmic rays that pierce our very atmosphere.
Hold up.
Wait a minute.
Maybe the same benefactor actually sabotaged the cryostasis of the research crew. Maybe they knew too much. Maybe they had to die.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Another theory for another time. Well, surely there are no other further hints dropped around the other Overwatch maps that could affirm my theories in the relevance of Holy shit! So, how did I do? Did I win our wager? Did you learn something new? Do you agree with my theory? If any of these are the case, or even if it's not the case, maybe consider dropping that like anyway. Or subscribe to stay up to date with the release of future theories, as well as other Overwatch-related content, like this.
Can I get a taxi? No.
Fuck! To be honest, guys, I've got a lot cooking, and it doesn't just stop here. If you're interested in any Overwatch content, I strongly suggest checking out these videos, and remember, stay safe, stay curious, stay crazy, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!
The universe does not weep when the sun sets.